Hi, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Roar Lions Roar. I'm your host, Bill DeFilippo, joined tonight by my co-host, Matt Filippovitz. Matt, what's going on?
Bill, I just dropped something right as we start this podcast, and I'm not going to
I
edit
heard
that
it.
out. Yeah, that was fun. It was the my glasses case because I had it in my hand to
Mm.
move it off to the side. This ruins my entire bit that I was going to have to start this podcast, which was Bill. I was back in Eastern PA this week, and a little while ago, right by my parents' house, they put in a
Mm.
Wendy's, which is
Mm.
kind of absurd considering where I live in the grand scheme of things. And they also put in a Wawa, which has since opened since the last time I was home. So I went there and they added a little sitting area to the Wawa. Is that a thing? Are people like
A
hanging out?
sitting
I always
area in a Wawa?
like not like outside. Like I've seen it outside where they have like little tables hanging out, people to grab their coffee. But this is like physically inside the Wawa.
Yeah.
I've always like thought of Wawa as like grab and go kind of place. I have never once thought about like hanging out inside and seeing what's going on. So I was kind of surprised, but I didn't hate it. There were some people hanging out there.
As listeners of this podcast probably know, I went to high school in Danville, Pennsylvania, and there was a Sheetz there that was like the local hangout for high school kids who like couldn't get into a place that is like a place that children are not allowed into. And it had a little sitting area there, and me and my friends would go and we would relax and we'd kick it and talk with one another in that Sheetz. I've been to other Sheetzes throughout the Commonwealth that have that similar interior sitting area.
I'm familiar with it at Sheetz, don't get me wrong, but like on MacArthur Road in the Lehigh Valley, like the Wawa there doesn't have one. The one on Airport Road doesn't have one. Like I was just surprised because I hadn't seen one in the area. It's not interesting to anybody, but it was interesting to me. So that's what's new with me. What's going on with you?
Not much, really. Not much. It's quite nice. I'm very tired because so last night I went to a Columbus Crew soccer game against FC Cincinnati, their big rival. It was a really good game. And the night before that, my plan, Matt, was to come home, was to read a book, maybe listen to some music, kick my feet up, just relax, just have a good time. And then at 6:45 p.m., a friend texts me asking if I want to go to a Cosmic Baseball game at 8 p.m. Now, do you know what Cosmic Baseball is?
I'd assume it's one of like the offshoots of the Savannah Bananas. And the reason I'm thinking about that is the Savannah Bananas are at Wrigley today. And I was driving by there on my way to Home Depot. So it was top of mind for myself. Yes.
Did you see a Kerry Wood threw a pitch where he threw an eephus behind his back that perfectly dropped in for a strike?
Yeah.
One of those fun reminders. One of those fun reminders that athletes are just like different from the rest of us. But yeah, he texted me and asked if I want to go. And I go, like, one of my big beliefs in life is that you should say yes to doing things. So I said yes to doing this instead of doing something a lot more responsible, like reading at home. And the first 4 innings of the game suck. It is the sun is still out. It's very bright. Nobody is taking it seriously. Like I truly thought there was some like element of showing that you are good at playing baseball through the first 4 innings, and there just wasn't really that. It was just a lot of lollygagging, whatever. They disappear for half an hour, then they come back out. The sun has gone down by this point. The fluorescent lights are on. They're in their fluorescent uniforms, and they try a little bit more to play baseball. And here's the thing, Matt: when they go into the fluorescent mode. So for the final 3 innings, it's a 7-inning game. They do it for the final 3 innings of the game. At the end of every inning, they do a home run derby. And the home run derby is 45 seconds of hitting as many home runs as you can with baseballs that are juiced like you would not believe. And when that switches over, it goes from, all right, this is all kind of, I'm a 34-year-old man. I am not the target audience to, oh my God, I am just hooting and hollering because these big dudes are hitting like 14 homers in 45 seconds. They're like swinging and then getting right back and loading up and just going over and over. It is so much fun.
Nice.
Just that part of it. The rest of it sucks. But getting to watch, like, you don't realize just how much your dumb man brain is programmed to forget absolutely everything if you are watching someone hit home runs. And it was unbelievable.
Nice. I'm jealous. Bill, I'm going to be seeing your favorite major league team tonight when this comes out. I'm going down to the South Side. I'm going to watch Sox Yankees in person. I'm very excited about it. So that'll be a good time. I highly doubt I'm going to watch 14 home runs in 45 seconds, but you never know. I have not seen the pitching matchups yet. And this joke isn't even that good because the Sox are good now.
And I want Aaron Boone shot out of a cannon. Here's actually the weird thing about the cosmic baseball is that in the first 4 innings, people take it so unseriously that they don't hit a bunch of home runs. And it really, in a way, it almost upsets you when you watch them finally start matching. But neither here nor there. If you have a chance to go to the cosmic baseball thing, I do not recommend it. But if you do end up going, just sit and wait because eventually it gets to be a good time. We'll stop talking about this now and we'll talk about what people actually are here for, which is going through, we're still doing our position preview podcast series, and we are currently on the defensive side of the football. Last week we did Penn State's defensive line. This week we are doing Penn State's linebacker room, Matt. And Matt, this might be kind of out of pocket, but to me, this is the most interesting room on Penn State's entire roster. I am really fascinated. Here's the argument that I am going to make, and I will let you retort. Penn State is linebacker U. It is the thing they hang their hat on. Matt Campbell, he just gets his college football history. I think he understands that Penn State has a reputation of having a very good linebacker room. Penn State's linebacker room this year, there is a brand new defensive coordinator who's going to be calling the defense different even from what Matt Campbell might know and expect, because Dan Lynn has never been a coordinator under him. Penn State's linebackers coach from last year, Dan Connor, is currently on staff. In an assistant linebackers coach. It's like he's like an assistant position coach, which is a thing you can have now with the 10 on-field assistant requirement waived. I don't know his official title, but I know he is still, I would imagine it's still fairly similar to what he was doing last year. Maybe the only thing is, I have a hard time imagining they would retain a position coach and ask him to take a back seat in the day-to-day of coaching. So I don't know. I'm curious what that relationship is like, but I know he's on the field still. Yeah, absolutely zero clue what his role is. The linebackers coach, Tyson Veet, a guy who has been with Matt Campbell in the past, was with him at Toledo, with him for a very long time at Iowa State, but he left for the last couple of years to go be the defense coordinator at Cincinnati. So maybe he does things a little bit differently. Maybe he kind of has a different approach now that he's finally been a defense coordinator. I don't know what that is going to be. So from a kind of just big picture coaching standpoint, in a lot of ways, this is a brand new thing in every single way for Penn State. And our defensive line preview was a lot of talking about guys that they went into the portal to get who are new members of this staff, of this roster. The linebacker room at Penn State is what Iowa State's linebacker room would have been if Matt Campbell stayed. It is Caleb Bacon, it is Cale Berzina, it is Cooper Ebel, and they brought in a fourth guy, John Klosterman, who is at Iowa State. Those first 3 guys are basically the guys they're building around, and Tony Rojas, who is coming back from injury, Alex Hatch also coming back from injury. Penn State's linebacker room is the room that has, they're going to have 2 or 3 linebackers on the field at all times, and they are almost certainly going to be one of 3 guys who followed Matt Campbell from Iowa State and Tony Rojas. And I think it is fascinating that this is the position. Probably, safety is also going to be very much going to be like this. But I think it is fascinating that this is the position where Matt Campbell went, I need to bring in guys that I trust to complement, for all intents and purposes, no disrespect to Alex Tash, no disrespect to Cam Smith, to complement Tony Rojas, who's the important guy to carry over. This, more than anything, from a player perspective is guys Matt Campbell trusts at the heart of everything. And I think that is just absolutely fascinating.
That's an interesting take, Bill. I don't know if I agree for a couple of reasons.
Sure.
I don't think this is necessarily the biggest import job or most impactful import job, but I think maybe you can make the case for tight ends for this. But I think the linebacker room, Bill, this is the true 50-50 almost merging of the Penn State old roster and the Iowa State old roster. And maybe that's me putting a lot of stock into what Alex Tash is going to be. I mean, again, it's hard. He tore his knee up in bowl prep, so who knows? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I basically think we're at a point where anything Alex Tash gives them this year, I think he is a really good football player. I think he's going to be very good for Penn State for a very long time, but also because of when his injury happened, I'm basically of the belief that anything that Alex Tash gives them is just like found money. This room is about Caleb Bacon, Caleb Brzina, Cooper Ebel, Tony Rojas, maybe Cam Smith, and John Klosterman is a guy who's played a little bit, but isn't really a guy you lean on. But it's basically those first four guys, three of whom are Iowa State transfers.
One thing I want to make sure I hit on here, Bill, is that Cooper Ebel tied for the team lead for Iowa State last year in tackles with 77 of them. Caleb Bacon third with 68 of them. And then Caleb Brzina is, pardon my counting here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, seventh from the Iowa State roster last year with 29. Tony Rojas was crazy high in tackles a couple years ago. Obviously, the season cut short last year. Alex Tash was very productive when he was healthy. So that's kind of... I understand what you're saying, Bill, and I think that makes a lot of sense, especially with how upperclassmen heavy this group of guys. You mentioned Klosterman as well. He's, I want to say, a fifth year as well. So all these guys are fairly late in their college career. I think maybe the true, hey, I'm trusting these guys that I'm importing to take over, I think probably belongs to the safety room or the quarterback room as that top of that list. But I see your point that you're making here with the linebackers. My thing is that I think it's more of like a more pure, like you mix red and blue to get green kind of thing here is how I would describe this room.
Sorry, I am distracted right now. This is bad podcasting, I understand. But Matt, have you ever gotten someone a cameo for their birthday from an absurd person?
Yes, I got my really good friend Zach a cameo from Boston Rob for his 30th birthday, Survivor Goat.
Yeah. As a total aside, because you were a Survivor person, me and my girlfriend started dating in March one year. Her birthday was in May of that year, and I got her a cameo from Johnny Fairplay.
Goat.
Oh, she really hated it. But I just got a cameo win for a friend's birthday. Not going to say who it is. But it is currently ruining my life that I can't watch it. But yeah, to go back to talking about Penn State's linebacker room, this is a room that, in addition to everything you and I just mentioned, Matt, this is a room with a lot of experience. One, just general experience playing under Matt Campbell. Caleb Bacon has appeared in 36 games for Matt Campbell and Iowa State.
Some would say that's 3 full regular seasons. Who's to say?
Some would say that. Yes, Cooper Ebel appeared in 34 games. Bacon is a redshirt senior. Ebel is just a straight senior. John Klosterman, redshirt senior, has appeared in 24 games, played 13 games as a freshman, 4 as a sophomore, 7 as a junior. And then Caleb Brzina has played in 20 games as a straight junior. And then Tony Rojas, on top of that, 33 games in his college football career. This is a room that it is very old. It has a lot of experience playing college football. And I think it is very telling that Matt Campbell, one, brought a bunch of guys that he knows in, and two, really placed an emphasis on at the heart of my defense, where we're going to have guys who are going to be calling the defense, having to call the defense for a bunch of new guys and be the guys who call it for a brand new defensive coordinator. I need guys in here who understand, one, how I run my program and how I go about my business and what I expect from everybody else. And two, how can I make it as easy as possible going new defense, new defensive coordinator, new school. I need guys who are going to be able to make that happen as seamlessly as possible. And it's just really interesting to me, Matt. Like this is a sport. I mean, this is a thing that you and I talked about a lot going into last season. This is a sport where you have 18 and 19-year-olds playing a very physical game against 20, 21, and 22-year-olds. And in Penn State's linebacker room, it's a bunch of dudes who are 20 and 21 and 22 years old. Bacon's a redshirt senior. He might be 23. Give me one moment to see if I can.
I couldn't find a birthday listed for him. I looked. I couldn't find anything.
But it's a very old room. And Matt Campbell is absolutely, this is just me speculating. I don't think he said anything about this. If he has, then I'm just, I'm getting lucky. Matt Campbell's decided this is going to be the room where I stack it with guys who understand exactly what I want and exactly what my football teams need to do. I think that's really interesting.
Can I share the part of this, Bill, that I think might be a little bit overlooked by a lot of Penn State fans here? You mentioned these guys are, fairly grown in the grand scheme of things. I think the super senior days are about to be done. So I think we need to recalibrate what qualifies as old back to normal in college football. But not only are these guys old, Bill, these guys are huge. And for a Penn State defense last year that was incredibly soft up the middle, and for a Penn State linebacker room that historically has been, let's call it what it is, Bill. Mike Hull, fairly short. Kobe King, fairly short. Amari Campbell listed at 6 foot last year. Bill, Cooper Ebo is listed at 6'4". Caleb Bacon is listed at 6'4". Brazina is listed at 6'3". This is a fundamental change in how Penn State plays their linebackers. Like for years, it was not incredibly short because 6 foot's not short by any stretch of the imagination, but there's some value to having these big, hulking, older guys that I think can really help complement their fairly large defensive line and make it really hard for teams to run up the gut against you. And that's going to be very beneficial against the Michigans on the schedule, the Minnesotas on the schedule. I am very curious to see what they do when they go 4-2-5. I feel pretty confident, Bill, that for a defense that traditionally liked to play three safeties under Matt Campbell, and I know Heacock's not here, excuse me. I do wonder what it's going to be when they rotate guys in and out, because we rattled off 5 guys, maybe even 6, depending on what's going on with Tash, who have every right to be on the field on a down-to-down basis. And I'm just excited to see how that shakes out. I think that's one of the most underrated parts of this linebacker room is just they're a lot bigger. They're probably going to be a lot more physical as a result of it. And I'm excited to see what that lets them do, in terms of stunting up front and where guys are able to play. So again, Denton Lynn has kind of an embarrassment of riches here in this linebacker room, and injuries are always going to happen, especially at a physical position like that. But I think all those different kind of guys they have, and a guy like Rojas who's good in coverage, Tash I think is fairly fine in coverage if he's able to go, I think allows them to be very smart and very deliberate with their substitutions. And that's going to, I think, create some frustrating matchups in second, intermediate, and third and long scenarios, especially.
Yeah, it's very much a room that fits the Matt Campbell ethos of we want to stop you from running the football. With
who do you think is the last
physical
linebacker, Bill, that you remember for Penn State that was oh, that guy's bigger than everybody else? So that's a larger than average linebacker in terms of height. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I mean, maybe you can say Micah, but that's not a traditional linebacker at the time. Abdul might have been 6'3", maybe. It was Abdul Carter.
I was thinking a guy like Brandon Smith.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great pick. Yeah. A traditional linebacker, definitely not. Yeah, going to play a defensive end. That's a great one.
Yeah, I was thinking someone like
that's a good call.
But yeah. Ebel at 6'4", 233, Brazina 6'3", 233, Bacon 6'4", 242. It's a bunch of guys who are big and physical and get downhill. Hopefully, stop teams from running the football. And then that kind of deputizes Tony Rowe. You would hope, not to take too much away from Bacon, because he is very, very good at getting into backfields and making stuff happen. He had 9.5 tackles for loss last season, and Ebel had 8 tackles for loss last season. But it's a bunch of guys who I think are really going to fit Penn State's new ethos of we are going to try and stop teams from running the football on us. We are bottling up the run, stopping you from doing that, being physical, being mean, being nasty. We have these big defensive tackles in front of us that are just going to eat up blocks and put us in positions where our guys have to make tackles, and we're going to trust them to try and make it. And as we move into the starters, Matt, I think this is a really interesting thing for a reason that you just mentioned. I put starters kind of in quotation marks. And I do that because I think the starters are going to be two of Cooper Ebel, of Caleb Bacon, of Tony Rojas. I don't know. They have made very clear their plan is we figure out who our best 11 guys are and we get them on the field.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that means that those three guys play. I don't know if that means two of them play because they're just like, all right, we absolutely have to get Zion Tracy, Davian Collins, Darius Dixon, Jeremiah Cooper, Marcus Neal, James, some combination of those guys on the field. I think they have a lot of optionality and flexibility about how they want the back part of their defense to work. And I think this is a position that is affected by that because they do have flexibility in going, do we want to have 2 or 3 linebackers? Do we want to have 4 or 5 defensive backs? Do we want to have a nickel guy? Do we want to have 3 safeties with one of the safeties being that nickel guy or Zion being that nickel guy? I don't know exactly what the starters look like, but I feel very confident in saying those 3 guys are the 3 main players in this linebacker room, with Cooper Ebel probably being the one who wears the green dot.
I think that's probably fair. I'd be curious because I know Rojas has gotten reps, live reps. It wasn't really that with how spring ball went for him, but I know Rojas was a green dot guy at one point, or expected to be. So who knows what that's going to be like. I'd agree with those 3, Bill, as the main guys. The thing that intrigues me about a guy like Caleb Bacon, who had 3 sacks last year, which I want to say that's fairly high up. That actually led Iowa State, which is kind of crazy that their leading sack getter only had 3 sacks. You mentioned all that flexibility they're going to want to have, because I think it's become obvious by the way Matt Campbell talks about Zion Tracy. That dude's getting on the field, and he's not just playing outside corner. These safeties didn't come over to sit on the bench. Like, I do think Caleb Bacon, especially with the question marks we have at edge rusher specifically, I would not be shocked if, again, he's got the size to do it at 6'4", if they walk him down from time to time and have him as like a pass rushing guy in a pinch if they need it. But yeah, Bill, I think those are probably the 3 they're going to run with. And I think that's the 3 that makes the most sense. I think Rojas gives you some really good sideline to sideline coverage that you might be lacking a little bit given the size of these defensive linemen. And then I think gives you 2 guys who can probably play either, Mike, or I think Rojas can't really, I don't think Rojas can play Sam. I just don't think that works for him. I think you have to keep him either at Will or Mike. And I think you have other guys who can play more or less Mike or Sam. And I think having those 2 interchangeably is going to be very beneficial for what Danton Lynn's going to be able to do in his first year.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was wondering if there's a world where one of Rojas or Bacon get closer to the line of scrimmage. You look at how big Penn State's edge rushers are, or at least the ones we expect them to rely on. Max Granville, 6'3", 252. Avon Kamoju, 6'3", 252. Akena Ezogu, 6'5", 273. Alexander McPherson, 6'6", 254. In Rojas, 6'2", so a little bit smaller, but 236, and he carries it pretty well. And then Bacon at 6'4", 242, big physical guy who I think it would make sense if they wanted to put him closer to the line of scrimmage and have him just pin his ears and rush the passer. Try to do that. I think that is a really good trio of guys, with Cooper Ebel being the guy who big physical, tackles everything, read, react, get guys in position to do stuff. He is a senior. If you got a chance to watch interviews that he's given, I did that a little bit before we started. He's just like a really big personality. And he's a guy that I think Penn State fans are really going to fall in love with. And then Bacon, as he was more of the havoc guy of the 3. Ebel last year, 8 tackles for loss and a sack. Brazina, no tackles for losses and no sacks. Bacon, 9.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks, which was growth on, he got injured in 2024, but in 2023, 6.5 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. This is just a club that he has in the bag. So I'm really interested in how they use those two guys specifically, and then Tony, who like the fully actualized version of Tony Rojas forever has been guy who just makes big plays on defense. I actually went and looked, Matt, in 2024 when he played 16 games for Penn State
with a bum shoulder.
With a bum shoulder, 6 tackles for loss and a sack. Really, really good. 2025, when he played 4 games for Penn State, a not great non-conference, admittedly. And then the game against Oregon, Tony, in those 4 games, 4.5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks, which does, it does really show that they really needed Tony Rojas on defense last year. I expect him. All this comes down to how well he recovers from the knee injury that he suffered in practice leading up to the UCLA game last year. I expect Tony Rojas, if he is healthy, to be a monster this season because he just brings a level of making stuff happen that the defense very badly needs. Bacon brings a bit of that too, but this is like Tony Rojas's entire calling card.
On the for the YouTube viewers who wondered what I just flashed on my screen, it was Phil Steele's magazine, which I'm still flipping through slowly but surely. Phil Steele has Penn State as the number 12 linebacker room in the country. That is their highest individual room ranking and the second highest rated linebacking core in the Big Ten, behind only Indiana. Which is a pretty, again, it's weird to say this given what the past couple of years have been, that's a really good place to exist in, considering all that you're replacing, and that the guy that you were just gushing about, Bill, tore his ACL less than a year ago. Like, there's clearly so much understood about what this room is. And I'm glad you brought up Tony's production when he kicked off 2025 last year. And again, great caveat with the bad non-conference, but he was outstanding in that Oregon game. And if you remember, he got dinged with like a lower body bump early in that game, which I don't remember offhand if that was like a precursor to what happened.
I would recommend it. I would recommend to everyone, including you, Matt, if you hadn't got a chance to. Nate Bauer did a sit down with Tony, where Tony kind of gets into the entire leg injury, and it's very, very interesting hearing Tony, one, talk about that, and two, like, he's just like rabid about getting back on the field. And I don't know how you could read. I don't know how you could read that, and I'm sure there are going to be people who are going to go out there and read this and read other things about Tony this offseason and hear quotes from Tony that he gives this offseason and not think like this guy is putting himself in position to have a monster season.
And that's good for him. Like, again, this is a guy who probably could have gotten a bag to go almost anywhere, even coming off the injury, given what he showed in 2024.
Miami ain't that nice, Tony.
Yeah, Miami ain't that nice, Tony. Maybe he's gonna get an NFT.
In the immortal words of someone who looks for reasons to not give the basketball program money, Miami ain't that nice, Tony.
We got to talk about, no, we're not going to talk about the NFT thing because I want to maintain a nice relationship with the Penn State communications department. Yeah, Bill, I think Tony's in for a monster year, and good for him. Like, as now a true senior, with playing through a really tough injury with the shoulder stuff. I think it was labrum. I want to say when I played high school football, I tore my labrum, and it basically ended my career because I tore it twice in less than 13 months, and it was awful. That's hard to play through. I can't even imagine playing through a Big Ten schedule with that when I was really struggling to do it through the Eastern Pennsylvania Conference in high school. So I really think Tony's a tough kid. I want the world for him this year. And I'm excited to see what kind of leadership he's able to provide now to this Penn State defense, because he is the best player of the old guard that's still here. He's a guy who's had 3 defensive coordinators. Is it 4? Was he here for Manny? Oh, my God, was he? No. It might have been. Oh, my God, Bill. Is it 4 defensive coordinators in 4 years for Tony Rojas? I think it is. That's insane. That's a kid who deserves to have his best season be his final year on campus in all likelihood. And I'm rooting extremely hard for Tony Rojas this fall. And I think he's probably my pick to lead Penn State in tackles, just because I think it was a fair bet for a long time for this Iowa State team to pick a safety, whether it be Neal or, oh my God, Bill, I'm blanking on the other one. I just had it pulled up in front of me. Neal led him in tackles last year, but I think with Rojas playing a bit faster in front of them, I think Rojas is really going to clean house a lot of weekends this fall.
Yeah, bare minimum, he's the guy who I expect them to go like, okay, Tony, we have the structure around you. We want you to be the guy who brings a little bit of chaos into that. Even though Dan Lynn's reputation is for not really wanting a ton, being the bend but don't break defense and everything. But on like a 3rd and 9, I really hope Tony is, to whatever extent he is capable of that. And I'll say the same thing of Bacon, because I think Bacon could do this too. Just pitting his ears back or trying to get to the quarterback. Or one of them is, running with a tight end, the other is trying to get to the quarterback. And the schedule does set up where they play a bunch of teams that are going to, it's not like they play a bunch of teams other than USC that are really going to be like, okay, we're spreading you out entirely. We're putting 1 million receivers on the field. I think even Washington might try to have a little bit of under center stuff. So I don't think it's going to be 5 wide air raid, woohoo, anything like that.
No, no way.
So there's going to be a schedule where their linebackers are going to be asked to do a lot. They're going to have to be really good against the run. When passing situations come up, they're going to be pretty clear passing situations. They're going to have to meet that moment. And I think having these 3 guys as the quote unquote starters is going to help a lot. And then when we look at the depth guys, I think it is definitely going to be Cale Brazina. He is definitely going to be one of the reserve guys. Definitely.
And not even, it's going to be very close. I would put him more as like starter 4 than I would like a true depth guy. I think he's still going to play a ton.
Sure, that's reasonable.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Alex Tatch, once he is healthy and able to go onto the field, again, I view him as found money. Cam Smith, if he is able to get on the field at all, maybe they decide they want to see what John Klosterman, or they know what John Klosterman is. Maybe they put him in there to just be a guy who kind of knows the score. This Chris Filippo guy from West Virginia, who as far as I am aware, not related to.
Me either, Bill. You know how rare it is, Bill, to find somebody with the FIL in their name, Bill? We got 2 on this podcast, and now we got 1 at Penn State. It's amazing.
Yeah. For West Virginia last year, he was a safety at 6'4", 208 pounds, played in 12 games. Penn State has him listed as a linebacker and has him listed at 6'4", 219 pounds. So those group of guys, plus, if instead of 3 starters at linebacker, they have 2.5, that extra half guy, putting him as the best of the depth options. I look at the linebacker room, Matt, and when I look at, I think they have a good group of starters. I think especially if Alex Tatch is able to come back healthy, I think they have depth options.
Oh yeah.
I'm really optimistic about this group, and I think it's a pretty deep room, and a room that you could be like, okay, if someone has to miss a series, has to miss a quarter, has to miss a half, has to miss a game, it's not the end of at least I don't think it would be the end of the world.
No, especially if they're able to get Tash back by the time Big Ten play starts. Then this really isn't an issue to me at all. I mean, Klosterman bringing over a guy who never really started at Iowa State, but very clearly wants to be part of a Matt Campbell program, I think is a great sign. Bill, you called out the second version of Brandon Smith. Like, to say Klosterman might be a rung or 2 below, like, the OG number 47 Brandon Smith from like the middle 2010s. Might be fair to say what he can give him production-wise. Might be closer to like a Von Walker guy from that era as well. You put him in there from time to time. He probably knows the playbook inside and out. He can make some plays for you if you want to sit some guys, if you're up 18-24 or whatever you want to call it. Like, that feels fairly reasonable. And that's a great guy to have, and this is clearly a room that, although the truly young depth isn't so much there, the change in eligibility kind of changes everything here for a lot of these guys, because now all of a sudden Cooper Ebel has an extra year of eligibility if he wants it. Tony's got 2. Brazina has 3. He's got this year, a senior year, a potential 5th year. The Filippo kid has an extra year now too. Like, there's a lot of opportunity here for this room to be pretty well stacked for a lot of years to come. And with how many talented guys I feel like they're going to have at the top of the depth chart, I think it makes sense to kind of have everybody on a pitch count to start, and then slowly bring in the Cam Smiths of the world. See if Filippo can give you a little bit, go a little bit more nickel, add Vabu Toure in there at safety as like the third guy you bring on for one reason or another, playing closer to the line of scrimmage. There's a lot of flexibility that this room gives them. And again, having 4.5 to 5 guys who I feel confident can start in the Big Ten is an absolute luxury for how much turnover this roster experienced. And it's a major testament to the relationship Matt Campbell had with these guys, in that their position coaches didn't follow Matt Campbell. Like, their defensive coordinator didn't really follow Matt Campbell. These are all guys who want to be a part of this program, and I think they're going to be an incredibly disciplined bunch, and that's only going to benefit, especially early on when they're working out the kinks. I think the depth here might be fairly, maybe shallower on the lower end, but again, the starters and the top of the depth chart having that much depth, I think you can cover up a lot of sins with that formula.
I disagree a little bit on the bit that you said about depth, because they brought what they have in their linebacker room is a guy in Brazina. If he played for Penn State last season, let me pull his.
Oh God, he probably leads Penn State in tackles last season, given what Rojas.
No, not quite. He had 29 tackles last year, but he appeared in 12 games, 20 games.
He would have played a ton though.
In his collegiate career, he would have.
Yeah. And that's my thing.
Yes, he would have played a ton. Alex Tash did, as the year went on, start to play more and more. Mm-hmm. And then they have those 3 guys at the top who they could kind of mix and match how they use it. And then, Klosterman, again, you made the Von Walker, Brandon Smith shout, which I think is good. He's appeared in 24 games in his career. He has actually played in more games in his career than Brazina. Not 100% sure if that, how much of that might be special teams, how much of that is on the defensive side of the football. I actually really like the depth in this room, in that it's a bunch of guys who at least know what it's like to have to play college football. And I know that sounds like I'm setting the bar like on the floor, but I do mean it. Like, knowing what is going to happen if you are thrown into the fire is a really, really important thing. And Penn State has a bunch of guys who have a sense of, okay, you have been out there for a game against, you've been up against last year's BYU team that nearly made it to the playoff. You kind of know what it's like to play big time college football.
Yep.
As depth guys. And that's just a luxury that, last season, I know we really wanted Penn State to have 1 or 2 more guys like that. And we saw once Tony went down that, like, yeah, Dom DeLuca is going to do his best. Yeah, Amari Campbell's going to do his best. And then it's just like, I don't know, man. So maybe this is just me having a lot of scars from last season, but I think the fact that their depth guys are at least guys who know what they are getting into, I think that's really good.
That's a good shout. And I probably should have chosen my words more carefully in terms of what I'm viewing as depth. Again, I think of Brazina as like a little bit of a separate tier. And I guess that third tier with a lot more unknowns. And, me shouting out Von Walker and first version of Brandon Smith on this podcast probably says what I think about what that room might be able to be. And that's no disrespect to those players, that they were great for what they were. Walk-on stories who played a lot for Penn State. And I think that's probably what you can hope for from that third tier of this linebacker room. But I think the first tier is outstanding. And I think that second tier of Brazina and hopefully Tash they're not going to be the reason you lose a game if there's injuries to the guys at the top of the depth chart.
And that's why I think last year they didn't have a second tier. Last year they had
no.
Last year they had a first tier that was Tony, Amari, and Dom. Then they didn't have a second tier. And then I'm going to pull up last year's roster and I will not look at where anybody went because I do not want to spoil something that's about to happen in a moment. But their linebacker room last year, Dakari Nelson didn't really play. Keon Wiley continued, he was just a big time, better in theory than an execution guy at Penn State. Anthony Specca didn't play. LeVar Jr. didn't play. They moved him to defensive line. Alex Tash and Cam Smith. Tash played a bit. He grew into that role. Smith didn't play. So like they did not have a second tier last year. And I think I'm just optimistic over the fact that, this year they do.
Yeah, which is again a major testament to Hoodger, the chief. Oh my God, what's Hoodger's official title? Director of Player Personnel, GM, whatever Hoodger is. That's a major testament that again a lot of these guys didn't really have any reason. They're late in their career. It's hard to start over. I get it's your coach, but to get 5 guys to follow you is very impressive, and that's a major testament to Matt Campbell.
Yeah. So as you know, as you listen to the series, we end each of these episodes with a pair of games. One is we look on both sides of the football and rank where we have each individual unit on that side of the ball. Last week we did the defensive line. We did Penn State's defensive line. Both Matt and I had that as the number 4 unit on Penn State's defensive side of the ball, with the caveat that we don't have them there because we think they're going to be bad. We think they are going to be a solid group, but just not the the Anthony's that
there's no known commodities. There just isn't.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the known commodities are guys that like have played a lot of football, older dudes, whatever. Where do you have the linebacker room, Matt? Because I think if you put this in any of the 3 positions we have, you are totally justified in doing that.
I'd agree, Bill, but knowing we've done this podcast for a long time, I think you and I are going to have this in the same spot here. I had this at 3. I had this at 3 out of 4 in terms of defensive rankings. And again, that's not an indictment on what this linebacker room is. I just think incredibly highly of Penn State's secondary. And again, it's absolutely absurd. If you would have told me 10 years ago, I would have linebackers and defensive line ranked as the lower 2 of a Penn State defense behind the secondary, I would have called you a liar. But Bill, that's not to say, I also don't think that, how do I want to word this? I also truly believe, Bill, that this can be one of, if not the best linebacker rooms in the Big Ten, maybe. I just think incredibly highly of the other 2 rooms. I think Rojas is going to be a monster. Health kind of knocks this down to the 3rd tier for me as well, with Rojas coming off an injury and Tash being slow to come off, or not slow, but a little bit later in the process, given when the injury occurred. I don't think this group is as highly regarded right now, for me at least, but doesn't mean I don't think it's going to be one of the strongest linebacker rooms we've seen come through this decade.
Interesting. You said you think we're going to agree?
Yeah, but I take it that we're not going to.
We're not, because I have this as the number 1 unit on Penn State.
Do you really? And that's totally fair, though. I would 100% get that, though. Interesting. Okay.
Here's the thing. If Tony Rojas was not coming back until October, and then he was going to have to work the rust off, I would probably not have this as the number 1 unit. But he should be back for spring ball. He's going to have the non-conference to get his body right, get the rust off of him before they dive into conference play. The fact that Matt Campbell ported over what would have been his starting linebacker room at Iowa State tells me that he really believes in how good this group is and how important this group is to what he wants to do. And the fact that they have a really good group of starters, the fact that they have backups in backups who were guys that have played a lot of football. The fact that this room is really well positioned to be able to bring Tony along and then Alex Tash along as they come back from injuries. I think there is a lot to like here. As you know, Matt, I try to view this from the perspective of what is the floor and what is the ceiling of this room. I think this room is a very, very high floor. And I think they have 3 guys in Rojas, in Bacon, and in Ebel who can all be all Big Ten caliber linebackers. And as a result, I have this as my number 1 unit on the defensive side of the football. That's totally fair, Bill. Bill, is my mic okay? I accidentally knocked it. Yeah, so good.
Okay.
And I want to say, I don't think it's irrational to say Penn State's secondary is awesome, and Penn State's secondary is going to have the top 2 units on the defensive side of the football. I do not think that's ridiculous at all. But
100%.
I just think this linebacker room is number 1.
I think, and again, all that is all totally fair, and maybe I'll be able to better defend this take in the next couple of weeks when we do the safety and the cornerback podcast here coming up in a couple of weeks here.
For sure.
I totally get why you have this at 1. This is an unbelievably the floor of this might be the highest of any group on the Penn State defense for sure. And I totally get that take. And you have no qualms with me here. Again, you can put any of these 3 at 1 and I would totally get it. So I'm aligned. You have them at 1. I have them at 3 though.
Yeah, totally fair. Matt, would you like to take over?
I'd love to, Bill. Bill, if longtime listeners of this series of podcasts know that we close this out with a fun game of Who He Play For, inspired by Inside the NBA's outstanding game of the same name. As far as I know, it is not copyrighted, in which case we would have been in trouble a long time ago. Bill, rule of this game is the portal is open. A lot of guys have moved on, and a lot of guys are still in college football, but no longer play for Penn State, Bill. So I will ask you who he play for. Bill, by my count, there are 6 former Penn State linebackers still in college football today. I feel confident, Bill, that you are going to get 3 of these guys. But we'll start off, Bill, with a guy we mentioned last week by happenstance. And I know you're going to get this one. Bill, a Pittsburgh native. Injured, I think, towards the end of his high school career. Never really saw a consistent rotation here at Penn State. Bill, Tamir Robinson, who he play for.
He is at Southern California.
That is correct, Bill. He is.
I'm going to say this. Despite knowing now that we mentioned it, that he went there last season, if he didn't come up last week, I don't think I'll get it to Tamir Robinson.
I don't think you would have either. Yeah, Bill, he will be returning to Happy Valley for probably the whiteout. They should announce that, by the way. What's going on? Maybe they'll announce it at like media days or something. That's tomorrow, by the way. That'll be fun. Yeah, Tamir Robinson is at USC with Zariah Fisher. All right, Bill. I think he ended up being Penn State's leading tackler last year. A North Carolina transfer.
Keep going.
Is that wrong?
I'm squaring my throat. I'm clearing my throat. Go ahead.
Oh, I see. All right, Bill. UNC transfer. A guy, the rare guy who was maybe no, that's not true. There's been a couple of guys to play for both Bill Belichick and James Franklin. Amari Campbell, who he played for.
Rocky Top.
Bill, that is correct. Amari Campbell is down on Rocky Top with Jim Knowles. He will be the centerpiece of a Josh Heupel defense, which is an oxymoron. All right, Bill. A Detroit native, I want to say, at least a Michigan native originally. Saw special times, I think, special teams. Oh my God, Matt. Special teams time is what I was trying to say. During his career here in Penn State. Bill, Kari Jackson, who he played for.
Kari Jackson.
I think he was number 30 when he was here. Might have been. Maybe number 20. Good linebacker number.
You could say any number and I would believe you. So you mentioned he's from Michigan. So I am going to guess Michigan State.
He is not at Michigan State, Bill. Oh, that's a good reminder. Did I ever look up where Ken Talley's at nowadays? I don't think I did that for the defensive line thing.
Wasn't he at Arkansas?
He's been at Arkansas. He's been at Michigan State. Not to do some editing in real time. He's at Arkansas, allegedly. No, or is he at UCF? Wow, this is crazy. What a career. He's at UCF right now, apparently. So there's one for last week's. All
right.
Sorry, Bo. That would have been a fun one for me to get. I apologize for missing that one.
It's okay.
But I'm only human. Who are we talking about here? Bill Kari Jackson. Bill Kari Jackson does not play at Michigan State. He is close to it.
Did he do the Virginia Tech? Oh, okay.
He did not. He is at the University of Toledo. So he is in your fine state of Ohio.
Okay.
All right, Bill. One of the longest tenured players on Penn State's roster at the time of his departure. Been around for a long time. Philadelphia native. Really struggled with injuries throughout his career, Bill. Former number 32, Bill. Keon Wiley, who he played for.
Did he follow Franklin to Virginia Tech?
He did. I think it's fair to say he is a Franklin guy through and through. Keon Wiley is in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. Bill, 2 more to go. Bill, Penn State, Illinois, 2024. Whiteout energy game, if you remember. Bill, what do you remember about that game?
I need everyone to bring the whiteout energy. Notice, I said whiteout energy.
Trademarked. Bill,
I love trademark issues, but please continue.
There was a linebacker in that game, Bill, named Dakari Nelson, who got his first career start for Penn State in that night game against Illinois. Bill, Dakari Nelson, who he played for.
I know he's from Alabama. I don't
He is from
think he went
Alabama,
to
correct?
I don't think he went to Alabama. Did he go to Auburn?
He did not go to Auburn, Bill. You are. I don't think you. He is not in a state that borders Alabama, but he is in the general southern region.
Is he at a Florida school?
He is not.
Then I'll guess Arkansas. I don't know.
He is not at Arkansas, Bill. He is at North Carolina State. He is part of the
Really?
Wolfpack. Yes, he is. He is there with Dave Doran, who is somehow still there. All right, Bill, one more. A Pittsburgh native. Never really got in the field at Penn State. I believe he went to Pittsburgh Central Catholic originally. Bill, Anthony Specca, who he played for. I'll give you a conference hint if you want it. I'll give you a big hint if you want it. It's not going to help you.
No.
I'll give you a good hint if you don't get it on the first try.
So I would then assume he didn't follow Franklin. Notre Dame.
It is not Notre Dame, Bill. Anthony Specca
returns
returns to Happy Valley this fall.
Did he go to Temple?
He did not go to Temple. At Temple games on the road, Bill.
Oh, yes. Then I will guess Marshall.
It is not Marshall, Bill. He is in West Lafayette. So you were in the proper state with your Notre Dame guess, but he is at Purdue University, which I went to Purdue one time because my sister was smart enough to get in there. I wasn't, that's for sure. And I had a nice time on their campus. So that's my only tidbit about West Lafayette. All right, Bill, that's not bad. I think you got three, like I expected you. You got Tamir. You got Amari Campbell. You got Keon. Those are the three I thought you would get. Cornerback, Bill, is fairly light next week because a lot of those guys stayed.
Okay, so
I think you'll do pretty. Actually, I think you might go 3 out of 4 on cornerbacks next week, Bill.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm not nearly as optimistic, but I'm never optimistic.
The fourth one you have no shot at, but the other 3 I think you have a shot at next week.
Okay. There's a little part of me that wants you to tell me who the fourth guy is and where he went just to see if I remember it next week. But we're not going to do that.
That's cheating. We're not cheating here.
This isn't really a game.
I have a punter. I have a former scholarship punter who we play for as well. When do you want to do that? You want to do that now just for shits and gigs? You want to do that after safeties? When do you want to do that one?
We can do that after safety. It's Alex Paqueta, isn't it?
It is.
My cousin. Is he at Rice?
Screw it, Bill. Alex Paqueta, who we play for.
Is he at Rice?
He is not at Rice. He was at Rice, but now he's no longer at Rice. It was Rice.
Is he at Georgia Tech?
Wow, that's crazy that you got that, Bill. I'm so impressed that you got that. Yeah, he's at Georgia Tech.
I have told the story before of how I might be related to Alex Paqueta. So I do need to stay on top of the career of my possible cousin.
Well done.
Yeah. So I'm going to be riding that high for a while. Penn State linebackers, pretty excited for this. Matt, any final things you would like to say before I send the people off into their week?
No, we are now, we're under 6 weeks to go. The season's about to get here before we know it. I want to say Penn State opens camp next Thursday, so only about 10 days away from Penn State opening camp. It's media day this week here in Chicago. Matt Campbell is set to speak to the media tomorrow, which is July 28th. I don't know the order that he's going, but it's always fun when it's media day. Excited to see how Campbell handles his opening statement specifically, because Franklin would filibuster for 15 minutes and then take 3 questions. I don't feel like Matt Campbell is going to do that, so I'm excited to see what that looks like. Season's really getting close, Bill. I'm getting pretty excited. I've started to map out on my flight yesterday back to Chicago. I started to map out my over/under list. And I'm trying to do good at it this year. I'm really trying not to have anything absurd. But I know it's going to sneak through from time to time. So working on that.
What was the absurd one last year? It was like you thought Penn State was going to have over like 4.5 guys with 50 receptions or something ridiculous.
I think it was 30. I could be wrong. I don't think it was 50. If it's 50,
it definitely was not 50. I'm busting your balls there, but it was. It was high. It was something. It was something that I felt really good the under was going to hit on.
That's when I was young, full of hope, and believed Andy Kotelnicki would try to swing the ball pass, do a bunch of swing passes to Singleton and Catron, and now here we are.
Yeah, and now here we are. Has Kansas officially announced what his job is going to be, because I know they just have him listed as the associate head coach. I don't think they have him listed as their offensive coordinator.
He is not
yeah,
listed as their offensive coordinator technically.
Yeah, weird. I assume he will be their offensive coordinator formally soon enough, but whatever. Yeah, best of luck to the big Zamboni as he goes back to Kansas. And thank you everyone for listening to this edition of Roar Lions Roar. As always, please remember to go and subscribe and give us a 5-star review on whatever your podcasting platform of choice is. Of course, if they only allow a 5-star review, if they don't allow a 5-star review, don't have much of a way to do that. That would be very difficult. Please make sure you go and subscribe to us on YouTube, like our page on YouTube, like the YouTube video if you are watching it right now, and hop into the comments and talk about Penn State football with the fine folks in the YouTube comment section. Make sure you are giving us a follow on both our Twitter and our Blue Sky accounts. One last time, thank you everyone for listening to this edition of Roar Lions Roar. For Matt Filipovitz, I'm Bill DeFilippo. Take care, everyone.
You know what's a bummer about the Franklin era is that linebackers coach was really like set in stone for so many years. There's not even like a funny who he coached for nowadays kind of thing. I mean, like Pry, obviously Virginia Tech still. There's Manny, who's over at Duke.
Tom Allen's at Clemson.
Like there really isn't like an absurd one over the years, which is kind of a bummer. But this Tyson Vate fella feels really out of left field. But I hope it works out.
Same.
That's all I got.